Good morning and welcome to Heartland Outdoor Living. This morning we're going to be talking about part 2 of getting into traditional archery. If you remember last week we talked about the Samick Sage and it being an affordable bow that you can purchase. And this week we're going to be talking about arrow shafts. So let's get to the video. Good morning and welcome to Heartland Outdoor Living. Since we started the video last week on doing the Samick Sage, getting into traditional archery affordably, and we talked about getting you set up with the Samick Sage, nice affordable bow, I thought it would be nice to go ahead and maybe do 4 or 5 videos that are going to follow that one. So this is going to be part 2 and it's going to be arrow shaft selection. What I've done is I've printed off the chart from Three Rivers Archery. And this is probably the best arrow selection chart that I've found online. So I'll put a link down below to this. This is again from Three Rivers Archery. And it shows you how to find your draw length. And then basically you want to add a little bit of room to the end of your arrow so that you're not bumping your hand. One of the things that a lot of people may or may not know is what their actual draw length is going to be. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do that. So basically you're going to hold your hand out from tip to tip and have your wife or somebody help you measure that. But you're going to get a measurement from your fingertip to fingertip all the way across and then divide that number by 2.5. And mine shows that I'm roughly right around that 28.5 inch. And then also another way you can do it is you can actually hold a tape measure out in front of you or a yardstick and get a measurement that way, and that's going to be really close. And again guys, that's getting you close enough to where you can figure out what size arrows you need. So let's just say that my draw is 28.5, which I know that to be what it is because I've been doing this a long time, and you want to add roughly an inch to that. So we're going to look at this arrow chart and I'm going to show you how you can pick out some arrows. We've got a new bow laying there in front of the Samick Sage that I actually thought it would make this kind of fun because we can actually do this video using the new bow, showing you how we're going to pick out the new arrows for it. But the bear that I hunted with last year is 45 pounds, this one is 55 pounds, so we've bumped up a little bit in weight. And we'll go ahead and I'm going to take you through the first part. We're going to talk about the aluminum arrow selection. We're going to show you how if you're shooting 145 grains, this new bow with a 50 to 51 coming over here to the 29.5. And then we'll also show you the wood arrows and then lastly the carbon. Okay, so let's say we're looking at the aluminum arrow length, and again we know we want to use 145 grain broadhead or field tip. And then the bow is shooting 51 to 55 pounds. And then we're wanting a 29.5 inch arrow length. So you'd come over here to this column, which would be your 29, and then line it up with that. And it tells you the E through H, so which would be a 2016, a 2018, 2117, or the 2213 size aluminum arrow shaft. Now that is for the aluminum. Buster's trying to help me, sorry guys. So again guys, this is broke down so it makes it a lot easier to try to find the arrows that you need. But you've got the recurve center shot or long bow, finger release, and then the actual bow weight in pounds. Again, we're wanting to use 145 grain field tip, and that's just preference. We'll scroll down here to the 51 to 55 pound bow, come over here to the 29.5, line that up, and it's showing I would need a 60 to 65 pound wooden shaft is what I'm shooting. Is the gold tip is what I'm hunting with. So we'll come over here. This is actually broke down to 150 grain, which is closer to what I really want. I found some 150 grain broadhead, so works out nicely. This is on 150 grain. Again guys, I'll zoom in on this and or I'll have the link down below so you can actually print this off. But The new bow is shooting 55-pound recurve limb, so we need this 51 to 55, come over here to the 29.5, and it is showing right here to be the 400, because it ends up for this, it's just a good starting point, but it's not 100%. I've already ordered the 340s because I know that just looking at this, it's never going to be a stiff enough spine. And I can show you what the weak spine looks like. We'll do a real quick video here, but I don't want to go over this real quick because we're going to end up having a longbow before this is all said and done. But over here on the other side, you've got the longbow or the self bows. And again, you'd use the same chart if you was shooting. Let's find 150 grain. Let's go to 50 to 55 pounds. Come over here, and on the 29 inch, it's shown to be using a 500 arrow shaft because it's going to have to snake around, and that's a whole nother lesson. We'll go over that later, but it's the archer's paradox. So depending on what you want to shoot, like I say, to figure out your arrow length, the easiest thing to do if you don't know your draw length is measure, have your wife measure, get you a good measurement there. Again, mine's 28.5, so I know I'm going to want my arrows roughly 29.5. So that's what we're going to be using based off of this chart to select our arrows. According to this chart, it's showing you that I need roughly a 400. And I do have some video clips of me shooting some 400s, and I'll show you that real quick. And if you watch, these are going to be slow motion videos of me shooting into the target, and you can see where the arrow shaft's actually, you can see the fletch end is actually kicking out way far to the left in this video. And you have a couple of options. That tells you that your arrow spine is too weak. So what you can do, if your arrow spine is too weak and you're getting the kick out on the fletch end far left like you're seeing in this video right now, there's two things you can do. You can cut the arrow down to shorten it up, or you can go with a lighter field point up front. I know that I'm wanting to shoot 145 grain broadheads or 150 grain broadheads, so making the front end lighter is not going to work for me. So what I've done is I've actually cut down some arrows a little bit shorter, and in fact they're almost to the point that they're almost too short to actually put a broadhead on now. And again, that's why I'm taking the time to tell you about the spine chart. The spine chart is going to get you close. It's not necessarily going to be 100%, but I can tell you with the new bow, and it's kind of got it's a recurve bow, and it's actually probably one of the fastest recurves I've shot. It's a custom bow, and these arrows are actually still showing an extremely weak spine, even cutting them down too short. And the only way I could even get them close was I had to put a 100 grain field point up front, and it may have even been a 75. So basically what I've had to do is I've had to reorder another set at the 340. And if you look on the chart here, I'll kind of show you. Again, the 55, we're coming over the 29.5, and it shows it's right on the line there. And the 340s is what I'm going to bump up to. So hopefully that'll stiffen it up and get me a much better arrow flight. Because right now I'm not pleased with what it's doing, and I sure wouldn't put a fixed blade broadhead on the front of these arrows with it that radical out of the bow. So that's some things to look for. And again, guys, when you get ready to order your arrows, go ahead and make sure you have a target on hand, so whenever you get your bow and you get it set up, we're going to, next week's video, we're going to show you some of the tools that you may want to buy so that you can get your bow set up a little bit better it'll make your life a little bit quicker if you have just a couple of tools, and they're inexpensive. But we'll go over that next week, some tools that you may want to have. But go ahead and get a target, and if you don't want to spend $30, $40 on a target right now, I understand that, because it starts getting expensive, and we're trying to keep this bow build under $200 to get you out in the woods and get you hunting. What you can do is go find a couple of bales of hay for $6 or $7 each, or straw. You know, probably 15 bucks you can get you 2 bales of hay, and use the box that your arrows come in to make a paper target or a cardboard target, and put it right on top of your hay bale. So again, guys, that's roughly how you're going to go about figuring out what your draw length is. From there, add roughly 1 inch to your arrow length so that you'll have a good starter. And then I'll show you real quick what I've done to cut the carbon shafts, and I'll bring you right up here. But basically I've got this board, I don't know if you can see it right there, so I'll zoom in and show you. But I've got this board up here that is, it's a 1x6, just bought from Home Depot, and it's roughly 4 foot long. And I've put a Dremel tool on it, and I'll turn this camera around so you can actually see it. But it's up close, but here it is. It's just a Dremel tool mounted on a board, and then I've got just a regular cutting bit on the front here that, so when it spins you can cut your graphite arrows. You can also cut aluminum. You can use pipe cutters on the aluminum if you go that way, but I can tell you historically what I found is a lot of times when you're twisting that, it'll kind of crimp that pipe down a little bit on the aluminum. It'll crimp that tube down a little bit, and it makes it tough to get your inserts out in and out. So you could order some at the 29.5 and have them cut down. I just as soon cut them down myself. You can definitely cut your aluminum and graphite or carbon shafts with it. And then I've got a vacuum that I'll put over there so that I'm not sucking in those carbon fibers as you're cutting. That'd be kind of dangerous. But wear your safety equipment, your mask and eye protection and everything else if you're going to be cutting them down yourself. And then from there you'll need some hot glue. The hot glue again will be in the video coming up next, and it's going to be part 3, some of the tools that you may want to get to help you get set up in the archery. So again, they're real cheap tools. So again guys, this is a real short quick video, and it's basically teaching you how to figure out your draw length, how to figure out your arrow length, how to get you some mortise arrows roughly the right size, and a starting point on getting some arrows, and then we will tune them up later in a later video. So again guys, we appreciate your likes, comments, and subscribes. May you have a blessed week. Okay guys, so after we watched the above video clip, I showed you the arrow spine was 2 weak, so we went ahead and we ordered another half dozen of these gold tip traditional arrows, and now we need to cut them down to the right length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my little arrow cutting tool that I have right here that I've just basically made with a 1x6, and then these boards right here are just smaller so you can roll the arrow into the actual cutter, and I've just got a regular cutting bit over there on that. The one tool that I forgot to mention when we was talking about the tools that you would need to get started in your little toolbox, grab your little tape measure. This is a good way to measure your brace height and stuff like that. If you don't have a bow square yet, you can do a lot of your measurements with just a simple tape measure that you may already have on hand. So don't forget a tape measure and throw it in your little kit as well. But what we're going to do, we're going to cut down one of these arrows to what I believe to be right. I'm going to do it at the 29.5. When you're taking the measurement on the 29.5, don't you measure from the end of your arrow to the bottom of the wings on your arrow nock. And just real quick guys, when you're taking this measurement for your arrow shaft, you can see this horseshoe shape in your arrow tip. You measure from the bottom of that. Don't measure these wings, measure from the bottom of that. But since we have this board on here, this is going to rest up against it, so I just have to allow for that distance. That way when I cut these at 29.5, they're going to be a true 29.5, not longer than 29.5. So we'll switch the view of the camera real quick, we'll get that cut down, and then I'm going to just use some instant super glue because I don't want to wait a full day for this to dry because we are running low on time. I'm going to do one at a time. I'm going to cut this one down, hopefully that works, and then go from there. So let's cut this down real quick guys.